Let's talk Ohio State. There was 5 stars on campus, and the Buckeyes recruiting is buzzing. Let's talk a little 5-star buzz right now with Chad Simmons, Director of Recruiting here at On3. And Chad, there was 3 5-stars on campus this past weekend in Columbus. I kind of felt like heading into the visit that Felix Ojo, Xavier Griffin, Savion Hyder were all prospects that Ohio State maybe needed to make up a little ground, which is great that they had them on campus early in June. So coming out of the visits, what's the intel on where Ohio State stands? Is there one of these 3 that maybe the Buckeyes have a better shot at?
Yeah, coming out, I think they made the biggest move and maybe the biggest impression with Xavier Griffin, 5-star linebacker, former USC commit from Gainesville, Georgia, getting him on campus and really laying out the plan for how he would fit in, from Coach Laurinaitis to the new defensive scheme under Matt Patricia, to kind of how they would use him, move him around, and how he could excel, in that scheme at a national power like Ohio State. So for me, look, going into this OV this time a week ago, the buzz was around 1 Alabama, and if there was a 1B, it would have been Texas. Now, Ohio State has put themselves in that conversation with the 2 schools. Griffin will visit the next 2 weeks, Alabama this weekend, Texas on June 13th. So Ohio State made a very big, very positive, move with Xavier Griffin. I think they kind of basically kept the same level with a guy like Felix Ojo. Didn't do anything bad by any means. He had a great time. They're quote unquote very high on his list after this official visit, but we felt that way going into the visit as well. We think Texas is going to be hard to beat. For Felix Ojo, he's a 5-star O-tackle in the Lone Star State. He'll be in Austin on June 13th, like Xavier Griffin. And we still think they are the front runner, but we think their biggest competition is Ohio State. So they did a great job over the weekend there. With Savion Hyder, obviously he's probably the top running back on many boards across the country. Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Tennessee, they're the 4 schools involved. I heard some very positive buzz about a month and a half ago around Ohio State and Savion Hyder. And they're definitely considered, I think, a top 3 school right now coming out of this visit. Things went well. We're still hearing a little bit more, though, about Michigan and Tennessee with Savion Hyder.
Nice. Well, that's why they have the visits. You can make up ground. That's what happens. All right. Speaking of visits, this weekend, Ohio State has some big ones coming up. And let's start with Bishop Gorman safety Jet Washington. This is a big recruitment. How do you see it? How do you see his recruitment before the visit?
This is a big visit for Ohio State if they want to be a major player in this race. Look, he's probably going to commit sometime in July. He hasn't been to Ohio State since this time a year ago. So they haven't had him on campus anytime recently. They were somewhat maybe of a surprise to get an official visit from Jet. He was at Alabama this past weekend for his first official visit. The Crimson Tide set the bar, like always, extremely high. We like Alabama and Oregon as the top 2. I might give a slight edge to Oregon coming out of the spring visits. Bama did a great job over the weekend. We'll see how things play out the next few weeks. But this is a big visit for Jet Washington and Ohio State because they haven't seen each other in roughly a year. So he has some questions for Ohio State. He wants to see the plan they have for him and how he would fit into their defensive scheme and just learn more about the program and the people in the program. Look, they're a top program. He knows about them from winning the national championship, how they put guys into the NFL and things like that. But getting that one-on-one conversation with Ryan Day, Matt Patricia, Tim Walton, those guys, that's going to be a key part if they make a move this weekend for Jet Washington.
Yeah. Now, when we talk about Jaylen Lot, the athlete out of Texas, top 5 athlete out of Texas, I tend to think LSU, Texas Longhorns in this recruitment, but this coming weekend, it's going to be a visit to Ohio State. Do the Buckeyes have a shot here?
I mean, look, he's visiting, so they have a shot. I mean, look, Ohio State is what many call wide receiver U, and that's they put guys into the league. They develop guys. I mean, Jalen's an elite playmaker. You mentioned LSU. He was there this past weekend. Obviously, you mentioned Texas. That's an in-state program. He'll be there later on this month. His mom and dad played sports at the University of Texas, so those bloodlines run pretty deep there with the Texas Longhorns. We see Oregon as a major player in this race still as well. But Ohio State, they're a school on the list. He'll spend 48 hours there in Columbus this weekend. They'll look like they did with Xavier Griffin this past weekend to maybe sneak up on some people and make a big move this weekend with Jaylen Lot.
All right, so we've been mentioning names that kind of sound like long shots, but the next one I'm going to ask you about sounds like Ohio State's to lose. I'm talking about running back Favor Aiye. He is also expected in this weekend, top 200 prospect overall. Do you maybe have him on commit watch this weekend?
Took the words out of my mouth, Josh. Commitment watch for sure. Look, we've been having him on commitment watch for much of the spring. Look, Miami was up there at one point as the front runner. Look, Ohio State's like 15 minutes from home.
Yeah.
That's his dream school. He can represent what he says, the city, the hometown hero. He loves Coach Lachlan, the running backs coach at Ohio State. Aiye is Ohio State's to lose, and I don't think they lose him. I think whether he commits this weekend or later on this summer, Ohio State's in a great position to land Aiye, a kid in their backyard, a guy they've really gone hard after over the last couple of months. He's been there numerous times. His family likes the people there. Obviously, the family loves the idea of being able to see him play pretty much week in and week out at Ohio State. So, look, they're in a great spot for Aiye, and I'd be surprised if that changed coming out of this weekend.
All right, Ohio State fans, how you feeling about last weekend? How do you feel about this weekend? Who do you think is the most important recruit heading to campus? Let us know. Comment section below.